Over the weekend, I decided to track the active players across the pay-to-play servers. There were about 10 on this list. That included Aradune, Mischief, Oakwynd, Rizlona, Thornblade, Vaniki, Yelinak, Agnarr, Mangler, and Ragefire. To do the tracking, I basically logged on and used the general chat trick throughout the weekend, where I was able to establish a minimum, maximum, and average amount of active players throughout a 3-day period. And the reason I did this was first, most out of curiosity, but also I thought that since I have a YouTube channel, maybe it would be helpful to new or returning players to know what the server populations are before they invest their time into a server and then find out it's either too dead or too crowded or maybe too far along. So before we get into the top 10 list, I have some general stats for you. The least amount of combined active players, that's all 10 servers combined, the population was 2,738 players, while the total highest active amount of players on all 10 servers combined peaked at about 4,919. So just under 5,000 active players at the peak times that I checked between all 10 servers combined. I don't really know what the numbers used to be when I used to play on live from like 1999 up to 2005, but the number seems really low. And then according to Wikipedia, the Everquest server population used to be visible at the login, and apparently most servers had more than 3,000 players logged in at a time. So that means of all 10 of these pay-to-play servers, that basically this entire population at its peak could have fit on less than 2 servers. And I guess with modern day technology and starting or creating multiple instances of zones, a single server would easily be able to host all 5,000 players if a single actual physical server is not already hosting all 10 servers, which it very well might be with some type of virtual separation. So if you've ever wondered why there doesn't seem to be a lot of GMs around, it's probably because they are trying to keep their costs low as possible, because there really are barely any players left. And of the players that are left, they all like different aspects of the game, and now they're all split between 10 servers with different features and different rule sets. All right, so now for the top 10 list. Coming in at number 10, no surprise to anyone, is Ragefire. Ragefire was released in May of 2015, which means it's pretty freaking old. You know how the server worked? It is locked by voting. Once all the content of an expansion is beaten, it will go up for vote whether or not the server advances to the next expansion. If that vote passes, then it will move to the next expansion. And that system can be used to rapidly get expansions through, or also if the majority of the player base feels that, say, a particular guild beat an expansion too fast, they can deny the vote and keep it in that current era. For statistics, this server had an average of 88 active players with a low of 53 and a high of 146. The server capacity, which is where I divide the average by the peak, was at about 60%, which was the lowest capacity of any of the pay-to-play servers, meaning it probably has like the fewest bots on it. The last update I see of the server was the Broken Mirror expansion, which unlocked in February 2023. It has not been updated on the website I was using since. They could be stuck in that expansion. Maybe nobody's beat that expansion. Maybe it didn't pass a vote. Maybe there are a couple expansions beyond that. I don't know. If you're on Ragefire, go ahead and leave a comment as to where it's at. So on to the next one, coming in at number 9, Agnarr. Agnarr is a pop lock progression server that was released in May of 2017. Once again, fairly old. That's over 6 years. The server was released in Classic, but can only advance to Planes of Power with the exception of Legacy of Yakisha, and the Lost Dungeons of North, which it has already reached that and is locked to those expansions. With an active player average of 105, a minimum of 55, and a high of 141, I would be hesitant to join this server unless you know of probably the one guild that's there rating. It also has a high capacity of 75%, which is one of the highest, which could indicate a large chunk of people that are either playing 24/7, botting, or an insane amount of bizarre characters selling things. If we look at it in comparison to the last server, that's 15% higher. So definitely investigate the server before starting on it. Check the forums, log in, assume your characters in Bazaar, and then look for that active guild, which shouldn't be too hard to find. And number 8. Number 8 is kind of a huge surprise. It was Thornblade, which was launched in May of 2021. It has the same rule set as the Mischief server, which is actually one of the most popular servers. Both these servers have a random bonus loot and free trade rule set, which on one hand was well received and then absolutely hated by the traditional player base. For some reason, the majority of players flocked to Mischief and kind of left Thornblade for dead. I don't know why they don't just merge the servers, but they kept them separate. Thornblade averaged 123 active players throughout this period with a low of 83 and a high of 192. And the server capacity came in at 64%, which means there aren't a lot of characters online relative to other servers. My recommendation is to avoid this server and just play a Mischief if you want to play. By the time most of you see this video, Seeds of Destruction, which is level 85 expansion, will be released on the server. Moving on to number 7, we have another semi-big surprise, Vaniki, which released just last year, May of 2022. Vaniki is a level locked progression server that was released at the Gate to Discord expansion with a level cap of 40, which presented some other different challenges, and they had to lower some of the actual zone requirements to get into places due to the low levels. And it is quite a little bit different from the traditional type of release. Although I thought it was a neat idea, it just didn't attract the player base to keep it running or to keep it strong. On September 28th of 2023, the server will move to level 90 and Reign of Fear and Call of the Forsaken will be released. The server was pretty much an oddball for me. It averaged 154 players with a low of 99 and a high of 209. I'm not sure what the appeal of this server is, but because it increases by level, it will get to the live server content a lot faster than the other servers, which maybe that is the appeal of the server. So I have no recommendation as whether or not you should play on the server. So play at your own risk. And then coming in at number 6, Mangler, which was released in March of 2019. This seems to be just a regular TLP, normal expansion release times, pretty traditional. If you're into just the basic bitch traditional experience, and this could be a potential server for you. With an average active player base of 160, a low of 125, and a high of 237. There could potentially be a guild or two on this server. On September 21st, 2023, they will unlock level 110 and the Ring of Scale. So this would obviously be a decent choice for a server for anyone that maybe retired in the last few years and wants to go back and catch back up, see what they missed. And at number 5, we have Aradune. This server was released in May of 2020, currently at level 90 and the House of Thule expansion. This is also a regular ass traditional type server with an average active player base of 193, a low of 120 and a high of 310. There's probably a few guilds on here to play with. Might be a good server to play on if you quit around that time frame. And then on to number 4, we have Rizlona. The server was also released May of 2020 and is also a traditional type of server. They are in the exact same spot as Aradune, level 90, House of Thule. Average active player base of about 268, low of 216, and a high of 348. This will probably have a few guilds on it too. Again, just surprised that they don't just take Rizlona and Aradune and merge them together, but maybe there's some type of technical issue with that. Who knows? Now for the top 3 coming up on those Big Daddy servers. We have at number 3, Yelinak, with an average active player base of 344, a low of 191, and a high of 552. There are definitely people here that you could play with. Yelinak was released in May of 2022, so it's a fresher server. Coming up on the Dragons of North expansion, which is set to release 9/14/2023. It is also a fairly traditional server. And at number 2, no surprise here, we have Mischief with its love/hate rule set of randomized loot and free trade. This server caught on fire and has remained alive even after the Plains of Power. With an average player base of 706, a low of 442, and a high of 816, the server's still kicking it. One thing I found concerning was the server capacity was at about 87%, which means there are either a lot of bizarre characters, bots, or players that don't log off. This is alarmingly high compared to other servers and their capacity. We do know that free trade has made it a chrono farmer's heaven. Instead of camping the individual spawns, people are boxing/botting raid mobs and selling that loot instead. So it's definitely a big money server as new players can join at any time and buy their way into gear levels and AA. Mischief is coming up on Seeds of Destruction and level 85 that is set to release on 9/14/2023. And finally, top populated server, which is also not a surprise because it's the newest server, Oakwynd. Oakwynd is a traditional server but has modifiers to things like coin, faction, experience loot, and maybe some other things as each expansion hits. Certain modifiers will gain more power, meaning the first time they come out, it might be 125% increase to maybe a rare loot. A few expansions later, it could be 150%. That continues to climb for these categories as more and more expansions come out. Average active player population of 1,573 players, a low of 1,238, and a high of 2,068. The server is the closest to have resembling the population of the live Yuku servers back in the day. It is definitely benefiting from its pre-Plains of Power fallout, as it will enter Scars of Velius on 9/14/2023. So if you're looking to start early on in the game, this is definitely the most active server and the freshest. The downside is that the special rule set is probably not going to be enough to carry it as far as Mischief, and it will be interesting to see the fallout after Plains of Power. that normally happens on all TLPs. So hopefully now you can make an informed decision on where to dedicate your time and if you're coming back to the game where you should play. I may make another video at some point that tracks just the top 5 servers and maybe any of the new ones. I hope that you found this information useful. Feel free to like and comment below, and as always, thanks for watching. We got P99, we got TLP, we got private servers and tests that's free. Some of us pay, some of us don't, some of us play, some of us won't. Did you just break my mess? Did you just train me? Did you just miss a healing? Are you gonna rest me? And please I need a sow, and please I need a rest. Please I need that sword, I'll take what you got.